Hi guys, welcome to my channel and I am Monu Mishra. So guys, in this video we are going to talk about PhD from Denmark. As I have already been getting a lot of requests to make video on Denmark. So fortunately I have found someone who is doing her PhD from Denmark. So I have asked her, Rijuta, to come on this platform and share her experiences and knowledge with you. So in this video I will be interviewing Miss Rijuta Jagannathan, who is doing her PhD from Denmark, and she will tell you about a lot of things and the list of documents required for your PhD application, what is the procedure, what are the fee and like cost of living, other things are. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to the channel. So let's get started without wasting any time. Hi Rijuta, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So how it's going in Denmark?
It's going pretty good. I've just handed in my thesis and I've started a postdoc, so pretty good.
Okay. So Rijuta, as you know, what is the motto of this video? So first of all, can you please introduce you to the audience?
Okay, so I'm Rijuta Jagannathan and I'm from Bangalore. I did my bachelor's and master's in Bangalore in St. Joseph's College. After which I went to TIFR for a summer internship, and that's where I got interested in astrochemistry. And then I came to Denmark for my PhD, and I'm continuing as a postdoc here.
Okay. So Rijuta, the first question here I have is, like, I know why you chose Denmark, but what was your reason to choosing Denmark as for PhD?
Okay, so I was looking for PhD positions across Europe, especially Germany and Netherlands and Denmark. And then I found this particular PhD position, which was a combination of astronomy, physics, chemistry, and surface science, and I thought that was really interesting. And also, I mean, English is quite commonly used in Denmark, so it's pretty easy to manage without knowing Danish. So that was also one thing. And then I just wanted to live in a smaller city, a nice city. So I chose this place.
Okay. So the another question is, how did you find this position? Like for your PhD, how did you find it?
So I'd been looking at a lot of websites that list, PhD positions, especially like there are specific websites for PhD positions in astrophysics or astronomy. And then there are Facebook groups that post open PhD positions in Europe. So I kept looking at these, and then I also checked individual university websites, like the universities I would have been interested to go in. So it's mostly online research.
So basically, Facebook can also help you in other means rather than just posting stuff.
Yeah, I think Facebook is a great way to find positions and interact with other people doing research.
Okay, okay. So the next question I have is, how does your process of application started from the informal part to the formal part? How did it all started like?
So when I came across the position, I first wrote to the supervisor, telling her about my background, because it was actually going to be a laboratory astrophysics PhD. And then I told her I had no experience in working in the lab in surface science techniques or ultra high vacuum techniques. And then she told me to apply anyway. So there was a university portal where I had to apply. And I just applied through that. And then I was called for a Skype interview. And then after which we exchanged some emails. And then she finally offered me the PhD position.
Okay, okay. And during the formal part, like you have to apply via the university portal, what were the documents required?
So I had already done my TOEFL because a lot of European universities require an English language thing. So I had done that. Apart from that, they required, of course, a CV. They required a statement of research. They required a covering letter. They wanted some recommendation letters from at least two people. But And of course, my master's transcripts were also required.
Okay, so here I want to ask whether TOEFL is accepted or IELTS is also accepted, like English language test. Which one are accepted? And
so I think they weren't too specific. I think either would have worked. But I think different universities have different requirements, and you'll have to like really check those criteria before applying, because even if you do these tests, they require a certain score on this test. So it's better to check the requirements before hand.
okay, so the next question is like you contacted the professor and like everything went smoothly. So what do you think was the criteria for selection? Like whether it was your marks or your research experience or something like that. What was the actual criteria for selection? Like many candidates would have applied.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say. I've never asked my supervisor why she chose me and not anybody else. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of marks and previous research experience, the way you apply, like your statement of research, your interests, all the things you've done. I also had a strong extracurricular CV, and I think my supervisor was happy with those things as well. And the fact that I wanted to live abroad. I think that's quite important to know that you want to live in a different city and learn a different culture. So I guess it's a combination of all these factors. It's hard to say what exactly.
So the next question is about fellowship and tuition fees, because as far as I know, Denmark is quite expensive. So what is the tuition fees of your PhD and how much fellowship did you got? Was it like adequate to cover everything or something like that?
So there are no tuition fees in Denmark. So I didn't have to spend anything. My PhD project was covered by the Marie Curie Fellowship. So I got a slightly higher salary than other PhD students at the university. It is expensive to live in Denmark. The cost of living is pretty high. The tax rates are pretty high, but then you also get a really good salary. So it's enough. It's enough to live really comfortably. So I would say you don't have to worry about the cost of living at all because you get a pretty good salary.
What is the average? Like if I ask you for some, what is the average? What do you think?
So I think after taxes, and that's the important part, after taxes, it's about 2,500 euros.
For PhD?
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
Quite good. So next question is about what is the average duration of PhD? What do you think is the average duration of PhD there?
I would say it's 3 years. They try to finish you up in 3 years. So unless you have to take time off your PhD or something really goes wrong in your lab, I think it's typical to finish in 3 years.
Okay. And do you think is there any difference? What is the difference between Indian PhD and the PhD in Denmark?
Again, I think that's hard to say because I don't really have much research experience in India. I've only done my master's project, and then I did a short project at TIFR, and they're in completely different fields.
Yes.
But I mean, definitely, I would say there's more exposure. Like I get to go to conferences, I get to travel. Like last week I was in Italy for a beam time, so I get to do things like this, which I'm not sure if it's common in India. But yeah, so I think in terms of resources, we have whatever I want to do in the lab, I can do.
It's like you have more resources, less number of people. In India, it's like more people and less number of resources.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so here comes the another question. What is the cost of living? You already know. But what about the work and life thing, like work-life balance and lifestyle in Denmark?
Yeah, so the cost of living, as I already told you before, it's you can manage with your salary. Like you can live really comfortably. So the work-life balance is pretty important here. So, I mean, of course, nobody tells you how long you should be in the lab or how long you should spend on your PhD. It's completely up to you. And you are encouraged, to take the weekends off. You're encouraged to take your vacation. So we have about 30 days of paid leave, which we're encouraged to take. So like 25 days you have to compulsorily take as vacation. And then even in terms of, if you need to go on parental leave, your supervisor is pretty supportive. You're encouraged to take parental leave if you want to. So both men and women get parental leave here, which is a great thing. And then, so for example, last year my father was ill, and my supervisor was very happy to let me go for a couple of months if I wanted. So I think there is a lot of importance, to life outside work here, and that's one of the reasons I chose Denmark.
The next question is about racism and discrimination, because we are Indian. Many places we feel discriminated, or like racism is common in Western countries. Few Western countries, not all. But have you ever felt like these kind of things in Denmark?
Not as much. I mean, in the university, not at all. Outside, of course, I mean, I think it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
It happens in India too.
Yes.
So yeah, it is I'm not going to say it's not there, because it is there, and I frankly don't know how to deal with it either. And apart from being, a minority in terms of race, I'm also a woman, and it is, I mean, you do get catcalled, just like in India. I mean, I probably feel safer here on the streets. So like I'm working in the lab till, midnight sometimes, but I can walk home without being scared, which I can't do in India, I would say.
Okay, so that's pretty good. And last is, any suggestions for the people who are willing to apply for Denmark? Any kind of suggestions or your advices?
I would say Denmark is a great place to come and study, in terms of, like the resources that you get, the support you get, the work-life balance, and the opportunities, the exposure. I would strongly encourage people to apply. Of course, it all depends on the supervisor you get, and I can't say, everyone's going to have a great supervisor like I did.
Okay.
So I think if you want to apply, you should go ahead and apply. Make sure you check out for the requirements. It's not like, with Europe, it's not one size fits all. You have to check requirements for each university before you apply. Make sure you work hard on your CV, your statement of research, get good recommendation letters. So I would say, I mean, don't hesitate before applying. Just apply, and see what happens.
So is it a good advice like to contact the professor before, like if I'm interested in someone's work, so should I write him and then ask, like, if you have any position you can take me, something like that?
I mean, I think it's a good idea to write to professors. I used to be, I felt like I shouldn't do that, like, I'm wasting their time or something. But it's okay if they have time, they will reply. Otherwise, it's okay. So don't get discouraged if you don't get a reply. But just write to whoever you want to write. And you could also, when you're applying to a place, you can write to people working in that group before applying, and you can ask them how it is like to be in that group.
Yes.
Because if you live in Europe, you can come for a physical interview a lot of times. You can actually meet people and see the lab and meet the group, and you kind of get to know what the dynamics are. But if you're applying from India, it's just a Skype interview and you never know. So you can always talk to people in the group. Like, I mean, most European universities have great websites. So check out their websites, look at people in the group, contact them, talk to them, and then decide.
Okay, so that's a great piece of advice. So far so good. So basically, I would like to thank you for your time, because it's too hard to get time in Western country, especially when you have a time difference. And I know you were there in Beamline, so I know how your week was the previous week. So it was quite good that you made out time for this. And thank you very much for your time. And I will contact you further if I will have any further questions from the audience. So
okay.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much.
Having me on your program.
Okay. So guys, I hope you would have liked this video. If you have liked this video, please give a thumbs up, comments in the comment section, and also subscribe to the channel. So I will really appreciate your support for this, and thank you very much. Stay tuned for further videos which will be coming in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.